Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Gas South District's That's the Ticket, the ultimate podcast exploring all things Gas South District and a source for insights to events on campus and discussions on the wider entertainment and tourism industry. Please welcome the host of our show, Stan Hall, CEO of Gas South District and Explore Gwinnett.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of That's the Ticket podcast. Today, we're diving into the topic of sustainability, but from the unique perspective of live sports and entertainment. Our guest today is Jeremiah Cooper, who is the Arena Sporting Events Manager at Gas South District and the leader of the Green Team. He's helping shape how major events can be both exciting and environmentally responsible. Jeremiah, we're so glad to have you with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stan.
So, Jeremiah, let's just jump right in it here. What does your day-to-day look like as the Arena Sporting Events Manager at Gas South District?
Awesome. Day-to-day, you're looking at, a lot of meetings, a lot of planning, logistics, things that we have to implement. One of my biggest things with the team and things I do is always craving improvement. We try to take the step, go above beyond, whether if it was clients, events. You may come to an event, maybe a concert, a banquet event. We're responsible for just planning, mapping things out, whether, you need tables in specific spots, you want 1,000 chairs on the floor. We make it happen. Not only do we work with clients, but we deal with things from patron experience, safety and security standpoint. So whether if, you have cables that need to be ran in particular ways where it's not a tripping hazard, pyro and cryo, obtaining permits and things like that. So we work with everything and anything. And that's just where, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens back of house, front of house. So it's pretty much everything. But make it happen.
So every show is different, right, Jeremiah?
Oh,
so
yeah.
You never know from one to the next what you're going to have to deal with as far as that client's needs are concerned. So you have to be very flexible and pivot on a dime,
Yep.
I bet sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll give you an example. And I'll give you one from our convention center, great building in the arena. With our convention center, there was an event where in the past we had a plethora of candles set out, and it took a whole team to work with the fire marshal and of course the client to say, hey, what ways can we make this better, what ways can we make it work, and then bringing that thought up in the future as well. In our arena, you may have an event where things are brought up last minute or spontaneous, and we want to make sure patrons get the same experience as our clients do, which again is amazing. And make sure, hey, if we got to do what we can to make it happen, we will.
Absolutely.
And communicating across the board.
Yeah. So, Jeremiah, we mentioned in the introduction today, we're going to talk a little bit about sustainability, and probably a topic that most people don't think about when they're coming to an event at the convention center or the arena here at Gas South District. But as we mentioned, you also lead the Green Team. Tell us what that's all about. How did that group come together? What's it made up of, et cetera?
That is one of my favorite things here to do. It's like a raising a child almost. It is. It's been a long time coming, but the Green Team started with two people. And huge shout out to Ron Jackson, our committee members. I remember when I started interning here at Gas South District, that was one of my biggest projects. It was around a 20 to 30 page paper I had to end up doing, and I was so invested into it. I remember days I come in at 8 a.m., start typing notes and ideas and just gather thoughts. And I'll also sit down with Ron and just remember like it was yesterday. I would sit down and say, hey, what do you think about this? Just bouncing ideas, trying to get our foot in the door of the sustainability realm and industry. It is a big, massive, thing to improvise, especially in venues and entertainment. A lot of bigger venues are doing it. It's pretty much nationwide. It's almost global.
Yeah.
To see, the ways people are trying to improve the environment, whether it's sustainability, lighting, water conservation efforts. The field is massive. But it also comes down to what I do already as it is, just craving improvement, being a problem solver. I noticed back then that it was, I felt like it was an issue, just not having enough of it. And taking what I saw as a problem and just wanting to address it, wanting to do better. I'm not saying it hasn't been done in the past, which it definitely has. But taking it upon the team, wanting to grow something that, could be even better. And I just happened to find the right people, passionate people, Ron, the committee members, and we just made one of the greatest things. Managed to create it. So
yeah. So Jeremiah, let's back up just a little bit because you said something that's interesting to me about when you were in school, you wrote a paper or something had to do with sustainability. But as far as your career is going, the one you have now, what made you decide that you wanted to be in the event business per se?
The event business is I'm an adrenaline junkie. I'll say that. I
You
like
have
the
to be.
yeah, you really do. I love the late nights. I love if it's we have a loading for a Korean concert and it's 3 a.m. Like I'm one of the first guys to step in the ring and be like, hey, like I'll be there. Like, what do you need me to
Mhm.
do?
Mhm.
You meet a lot of great people as well, whether if it is patrons. I am a people person, love communicating with people, meeting new people, seeing different cultures, being in the loop. That's one of the good things about it is there's a lot of cultures, a lot of different things people get to meet. Um, and coming from that background and just being who I am, highly energetic, a lot of adrenaline. It's you really I almost found myself there. It's almost a matter of like I wasn't um I may have just pondered on it and just said, "Oh well, events is a job or a career I could take," and I just made it even
It takes
greater.
a special person, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
I've
Hours.
seen in your area over there. Sometimes it just seems like people are. Every time I go over there, they're working. So, and that's probably because they are right.
Yep. Oh, every
So I
nonstop.
wonder. I bet the burnout, if you're not careful, you have to be careful of that because the burnout could be a serious issue, couldn't it?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, hours on end. Luckily, I'll give a shout out to the great team in the arena. We have a very coordinated schedule. Whether if it's you work mornings, you work the day, you work the nights. It takes a lot of communication.
Hmm.
But again, we make it happen.
So let's get back on topic a little bit. I just was interested to see what drove you to be where you are today. I'm always curious. So was sustainability always something that you were passionate about? You said you wrote a paper when you were in school, or did it just sort of grow and you threw the work at the arena to try to progress that passion that you may have had with that?
hmm
So,
It's a little bit of both. I definitely have that passion. Throughout school, I always, if I had the chance, would take notes or even have a project or study about sustainability, learn as much as I could, whether if that is through lead certifications or the Green Sports Council, um, ways other venues are starting to interpret or
yeah,
launch certain activations with sustainability. Here, when I got here, it truly did grow, um, and I don't think it would have grown the way it did if I wasn't here. Um,
I think you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
the passion
Hmm.
behind it grew as well. Meeting the people, one got South again giving me the chance to launch that committee,
Hmm.
um, and just taking it above and beyond. Whether we have those sustainability efforts during events throughout the venue, and for patrons to see, and we hope to grow from there too.
Exactly. So you know this, but a lot of people's only exposure to a venue is what it looks like when they get there, and then they're gone. So you and I both know what it looks like when they leave,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Sometimes big events can be actually very messy based on a large number of people in a very confined area, whatever that event might be or venue might be. What are some of the ways that you and your team try to make things more eco-friendly behind the scenes based on that?
hmm
Just sort of again the mess that's made
Yep.
there.
Yep. That great question. So huge shout out to housekeeping for this too, and I don't want to miss any bunch for them. But um, what we do is there's a lot of factors that come into play when we're talking patrons. The amount of people
Hmm.
is a huge factor we consider. Where we place receptacles. If you haven't been to convention center or arena in a while, I like to share we do have 3 stream receptacles and dual waste stream receptacles. So whether if it's you have a recyclable you want to toss in trash or just regular trash that belongs to landfill, we're able to separate that out with help from our partners, which I hope to share in a minute as well. Just
Yeah,
to make sure we separate those and then sort them so they get to the right places.
yeah.
Um, it's a lot of preparation. Whether if we have to move receptacles, a great example is for a recent show we did in the arena. We knew ahead of time there would be 10,000 or so people, and what we did was we said, okay, let's monitor over the last few events in the past and say, um, where do we have a lot of people ingressing and then a lot of people egressing? And what we did was we moved our larger receptacles closer to where we monitored and
Hmm.
saw there were more people coming out of,
Yeah.
especially in our concession stand. So it really does take a matter of evaluation, getting with the committee team and saying, okay, hey, this is a concern. What can we do to address it before it even happens?
Hmm.
So those are some steps we.
So Jeremiah, what is a sustainable event? That's a tongue twister. really look like? Sort of, if you will, paint a picture of what fans might see or not see that really makes a difference when you're talking about, sustainability in a building of that
hmm
size.
So I'll start with the arena. The arena again is 13,000 capacity. Even when we're full 360, what a patron would see, and I'll get into where they won't probably see, but
Mm-hmm.
what they'll see is of course the receptacles. You may go to any venue in Georgia or in America, and you'll see the that recycling
Mm-hmm.
bin, and then that trash bin, or even composting, depending on the scaling of their recycling efforts or sustainable efforts. But that's what a patron would see. They may see the items or the things they purchase may be recyclable, maybe biodegradable. Um, and those take into different effects of, whether that venue has biodegradable concession utensils or recyclable. But that's the forefront. From there, it's a matter of, what that venue does to, take those things, the efforts that patrons are putting in to recycle, compost it, the sorting methods, and take them to where they have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Whether if it's a compactor,
Yeah.
and taking that compactor and sending it off, whether if that compactor is for cardboard or aluminum and plastic, and working with partners across the state or the nation to just monitor it, evaluate it, get it sorted out, get it sent out away from landfills. Because again, that's the goal, is to, especially with recycling, just sustainable efforts, is to make sure those stay out of the landfill.
Yeah.
Waste diversion is the
Mm-hmm.
better phrase for it. They also may see, water conservation efforts, lighting fixtures, make sure that LED lighting fixtures, or you go to a restroom, you may notice after you're done washing your hands, the water stops running.
Mm-hmm.
That's because again, they're trying to prevent people from just turning on the water
Yeah.
entirely and
Leave it
then and
running.
leaving it running. Right.
Yeah.
LED fixtures, they last longer. It says it's a better ROI, return on investment, when you have LED lighting fixtures, because again, you're not replacing as much. So
Hmm.
things you may or may not see or even think about. So
Yeah.
things you may see in venues.
But it's a conscious and a subconscious effort, not only for what we do here as far as our efforts to be sustainable, but people are participating whether they
Mhm.
know it or not. Sometime,
Right.
right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, Jeremiah, are you guys working with any partners or vendors, local groups, what have you, maybe even sponsors to support the Green Mission?
Oh, absolutely. And this is a huge, again, I want to thank everybody. I'll go off a name here.
Yeah.
Waste Eliminators is our materials recovery facility. Huge shout out to them. In the past, we've done plenty of walkthroughs of the venues, and they are our, what's the word I'm looking for? They're definitely our sidemen and all this. They help put everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Whether if they're giving us advice on, hey, our sorting methods, ways we can improve, because again, they're our main party in terms of our plastic and aluminum recycling. So after we compact it, they pretty much take it and then they can sort it out from there. And they actually are the ones to get it out of the landfills,
Mm-hmm.
because hence they're the materials recovery facility. They work day in, day out to make sure if we need something hauled, they'll help us. And they're also helping us to make sure we start recycling the harder to recycle materials, whether if that's glass, use cooking grease and things like that. So
Yeah.
things people again won't really think that's recyclable
Mm-hmm.
or sustainable,
Yeah.
to get out the landfill, but it is possible.
Yeah.
Some other groups, Junk Luggers and West Rock, we do bale cardboard, tons
Yeah.
of it. And then same for our pallets. We also take pallets away and make sure they're off campus, make sure they're sent to a better place. Not necessarily just the landfill. If we can reuse them or find someone who can, awesome, we'll make it happen. And then I'll note the West End and Coca-Cola as well. Coca-Cola has been a huge help. We've
They've got a huge
oh yeah,
recycling.
very,
Yeah.
very big.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola and Circular Solutions, they were our consultants, especially with the
Uh-huh.
receptacle process.
Uh-huh.
So they also helped us manage to, monitor and evaluate and see what works best for us. And then the West End, great partner here. We've done plenty of community things. We did a trash pickup event on campus too, just to get the West End and Gas South District together. So thank y'all for them for helping us out with that. And we plan on doing another one just to get the ball rolling. So
Okay.
great stuff.
So, are there things that you've done, and let's start a little bit on the smaller side, just maybe some very small change that you made that had a surprisingly big impact, or something you didn't expect to make such a difference? What would be an example of that?
I would say feedback. And the reason why I say
Okay.
feedback, and again, it starts small. But I've noticed that feedback has grown from something as simple as maybe you should change the color of your trash bags for recycling. And we thought that was minuscule until we realized you can see through the clear bag as it's being tossed in a compactor, so you can see the materials you're recycling. And again, people may think, oh yeah, black trash bag, we'll get to the right place. But the feedback you may get from partners, patrons, staff, whether if it is small or large, um, and willing to accept said feedback is crucial for sustainability of rather, I believe, any project, in terms of wanting to get better. And again, those trash bags, now we use them for every receptacle we can. If you may or may not notice, we have clear bags across campus for recycling specifically, so we can monitor it. And if all else fails, we can say, okay, that bag was recycling,
Yeah.
and taking it to the right place. So that was
Okay.
definitely a crucial change.
So I'm just sitting here thinking about all the things you're talking about, and I'm a couple of years older than you are. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but the recycling effort, and I won't even limit it to Gas South District, but I'd say in our country, has gone through ebbs and flows during my lifetime. Sometimes it's a really big deal, and sometimes it's not a very big deal. Let's just sort of focus in now on Gas South District during your time here. Number one, have you noticed any difference as far as people willing to participate to also further that goal of sustainability? And then how do you get folks involved? I mean, we have so many people that come to our campus day in and day out. How do you get them involved? And are there things that you can do during these events to help out to be a part of that push, if you will?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. I believe buy-in and being proactive is one of the greatest things a patron, staff member, or anyone at Gas South District can do. Whether if it's asking questions for our staff, if it's an usher, technical services, supervisors, whoever, ask questions and say, hey, like, what is this recyclable? Or what efforts are you doing? If you're curious, like, feel free to ask when you're around, or if it's a staff member, employee, patron, anyone. And then again, as a fan or even as a client, a great thing that I've been asked is, if we do it, are we being rewarded? Because it has been a question, and I think from a community standpoint, talking to patrons and clients, we are working on ways to see if we can have, during maybe game segments, you can be a part of an element for recycling, or doing, taking that initiative for being proactive. Or for clients in the convention center, maybe there's a point system where you launch, if you're willing to have a sustainable event, you follow a set amount of steps. And after following those steps, you're launched and marketed as a sustainable, eco-friendly event.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, though, it does become it has to be a passion. As a fan, I mentioned proactiveness. Having that buy-in. It really does come down to being willing to be proactive. What if you see a recycling can, or you see a water bottle, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll just toss it in there, because that's the simplest way to be proactive and to take that next step. And from there, if you are curious, again, ask questions, or if you are a client coming to Gas South District, we're willing to help if you have or if you want to have a sustainable event.
Do you think you've noticed an uptick as far as fan participation in really putting that item, whatever it might be, in the right receptacle since you've been here? Have you noticed an uptick in that?
Oh yeah. Especially when things are labeled, which again, I think our committee did a great job labeling receptacles, and then for patrons to again, being proactive. When in the arena for larger events, again, we sell lots of alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Aluminum, plastic, bottles, cans, the whole world. That trash, which it would presumably be trash if it wasn't for the recycling portion of the bins, those are, when patrons are done using them, whether they're drunk to core lights or whatever the drink may be. I've seen plenty of fans toss them in recycling. And if not, they may waste them, which again, perfectly fine. Because again, it could get really full with 10,000 plus people. But with patrons actually doing that, it really does truly divert the waste, because 10,000 people and everyone gets 2 cans of Coors Light, it really adds up quickly, especially with the weight. So
how do you guys scale the if you think about we've saved X number of items, X number of pounds, whatever that might be, from landfills, how do you guys scale or sort of articulate what that number might be?
Yep. So we work with, and this is why, again, I give a shout out to Waste Eliminators. They're since they're the ones sorting it, our materials recovery facility, they're able to weigh it,
Okay.
and then all the product that that is produced through our venue and things like that, they're able to come back and say, hey, you had this much weight in terms of aluminum plastic, and then we already know the amount of landfill we originally have.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it just becomes comparing, contrasting whether or
Mm-hmm.
not, okay, we had, I don't know, 200 tons of aluminum, and then we only had 50 or 100 tons of waste. Like, clearly there's a linear or
Yeah.
a comparison between the two.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So, Jeremiah, have you had a moment yet where, we have these with all kind of different things in life, but have you had a moment where you looked around and thought, we really are making a difference? Any wins that stand out that sort of put that light bulb on over your head a little bit?
one of the first ones was our committee members, and then the receptacles. Our receptacles were a huge investment. While it was a long process, that really jumped the gun and opened the door for us to start recycling and start thinking bigger picture.
Yeah.
And start getting a little creative.
Yeah.
It was definitely a morale booster. And then taking that and then gaining and growing a green committee would be a good second, if not the first thing I would have mentioned. Every single one of the committee members, they're passionate. They have a plethora of ideas, whether if it is they're focused on lighting or they're wanting to compost, and I don't know, even trying to make a green roof. The ideas are endless, but just two people, since again that's where it started, or that's where we started, and growing into maybe 12 or 14.
Yeah.
The brains in that room, or even if a meeting, if anyone ever gets to see, or Shadow said the passion in those meetings is wonderful.
It's like compound interest, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Adds up quickly.
This gets bigger and bigger as it
Mhm.
goes. Absolutely.
Yep.
Jeremiah, do you think that your generation shares the passion you have for recycling more so than maybe your parents' demographics? Do you think you think there's a big difference in that whole mentality or outlook toward this topic?
I think there's a slight difference. I feel like with I feel like the generation I'm in, or just the people in the industry or fans, whoever. I think, and it also may come down to geographic as well, but I think there's a slight difference. Communicating things may be a little different. Maybe the proactiveness is different.
Right.
I feel like that would take a longer study, mainly because I don't know, maybe in the '60s compared to people in their 40s and then 20s, you might see a sort of difference, but it may also come down to their habits, proactiveness,
What
whether
they
if
do at
not
home, they're going
right.
to do here, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I guess there is a learning curve with everything, and also with this. What's been one of the, I guess, tougher parts of getting greener practices in place?
I believe networking, and just for myself as well. Networking, understanding, the common practices and sustainability, and then being creative. Not every venue is the same.
Yeah.
And that's one of the tricky parts, is that you may find something that works elsewhere, but for your venue or anywhere, even your house, wherever you are, the processes may be different. You may have a different waste stream entirely, where you may not have a lot of plastic, or you may not have a lot of aluminum, cardboard, etc. But it comes down to your waste stream. It comes down to um, whether or not, even financially, it's worthwhile, or if
because it's not cheap, is it?
oh yeah, oh absolutely.
Yeah.
I can tell you that from personal experience.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheap realm to just jump into,
Yeah.
unless you truly do your research and understand, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I need. And if you could just make a project plan too, and just determine the proper steps for what you're hoping to accomplish, and then the goals behind those. Long-term accomplishment or short-term accomplishments would be better put.
Yeah. So, Jeremiah, what's next for the Green Team? You guys have any big goals or ideas you're excited about for the future?
We have a lot.
Let's hear about it then.
I got a list too. So
Okay.
we have April 19th is our e-waste event. That's one of the events we work with Mitsubishi Electric Classic, Waste Eliminators, ourselves as volunteers, and we try to collect in the county the hard to recycle materials, mainly electronics, hence the e-waste.
Yeah.
And with that, we want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and just giving that opportunity out because, again, since it's hard to recycle, most of those materials end up in the trash.
Yeah.
And without events like these, so where we can work with partners and collect those electronics, we can take those and actually send them in the right place. Some other things, composting is in the works, especially back of house. Whether if you have a banquet and convention center, and then there's tons of food left over, hey, we would, instead of trashing it, we would love to compost it and take
Mhm.
it to the right place. Take that next step. Sustainable ideas again across all the venues, whether if it is the arena, our theater, convention center. Working on lighting fixtures, making sure we're fully LED. There's talks about our green roof project, which will be proposed in the arena. Our committee is working on ways where we can launch a green roof
What
on
is
one of those
that?
parts.
What is a green roof?
A green roof, great question. The green roof or a green roof is it's almost like garden of sorts. It can be
Yeah.
a garden, it could be flowery plants. It's almost a smaller botanical garden, but the special part is these are placed on roofs of buildings, corporate offices, entertainment, sporting venues,
Yeah.
and not only is it beneficial and sustainable, but there's actually um, very good financial benefits out of this in terms of just roofing entirely. Um, and talking about again, you could probably grow food if you wanted to, or actually, again, a garden. But these, again, the green room collects water, plants, pottery. I mean, the whole 9 yards. But again, it's
It's got
mainly
its own ecosystem.
right.
Really.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and it also gives a small study about just the psychological benefits behind it too. It's
Yeah.
when patrons see this, is you
Yeah.
have um, flowers, I say trees, which are ever so rarely, bushes, shrubs, things like that, where people can actually probably experience these things, and
Mhm.
actually brings you a little life into your venue. They're built a little complex. I wouldn't just say put a garden on top of your roof because again, you're talking about leaks and things like that. But when you have a great structure built, um, I would definitely push for it for anyone and everyone. What it is, they put the soil down and make sure the grounding under it is secure. You can build a base around the garden or wherever you have, and then of course grow plants on it.
Mhm.
That's just going to collect water,
Yeah.
and then potentially, or what you're not hoping to have happen is, it starts leaking because
Yeah.
again, you want to have the base and
Yeah.
things built because it'll add weight to the roof.
Mhm.
But see what it does is it does collect that sunlight because now you have something over your already existing roof. It's collecting water and things like that. So the green roof, not only does it have those benefits, but again the garden aspect behind it too, and just the benefits of you having a whole garden on your
Yeah.
roof. I mean, not many people can say they.
Yeah. So, Jeremiah, for the folks who are listening to the podcast today that might be working in events or even just thinking about their own impact, what's one
Mhm.
easy step that they could take to start being more sustainable themselves?
I would say, and I'll give you two answers. One of them is, find or even search sustainable ways you can be more sustainable, whether if it's in your county, state, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point in our age, I feel like you can go to the library or go online and find that knowledge, and that knowledge is free. People will publish articles and
Mm-hmm.
teach you and show you sustainable efforts, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where I started.
Yeah.
If not for that, I would say um, reflect with others. Start to buy in at wherever you're at, whether if it's your house. Um, if you go out in public or you are working an event, you do come to a venue, just take that step to buy in and be proactive. It goes a long way. Whether if it's planting a tree or
Yeah.
joining community initiatives or volunteering, um, and just getting out there and just learning more and more about it because that knowledge is priceless.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, Jeremiah, this has been a great conversation, a very insightful conversation, even for myself, for sure. It's inspiring to hear how sustainability is becoming part of the culture at Gas South District, something we're all proud of, not just a buzzword, but something that's being built on into the way you do business, host events, and connect with the community. So we're very proud of the work that you guys are doing and appreciate that so much. So thanks for taking the time to be with us and join us today and share your journey. And to our listeners, if you are heading to an event at Gas South District anytime soon, keep an eye out for some of those green efforts that Jeremiah mentioned. Better yet, absolutely get involved when you're visiting us here. Lastly, be sure to check out gassouthdistrict.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of Gas South District, That's the Ticket, wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll return soon for another episode of That's the Ticket. Until next time, take care and keep thinking green. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. For show notes and further information about Gas South District and upcoming events, please visit our website at gassouthdistrict.com. That's the ticket.